All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Black Radio with Nikki Talks and Richard Roots. I'm really, really excited about today to be back. We've been gone for 2 weeks. One, because there was ice, and then the next one, it was snow. So it was just like we had guests lined up, and then it was just like, it didn't make sense to, like, have people driving out in the ice and stuff like that.
If you are
So
in Oklahoma, you already know. Man, we pass up so many cars just on a regular.
on the side, well, not we, you did, because I
Right.
was
Because
inside
I
the
still had
house.
to I still had to be out there. So
Yes, yes,
I was out
yes,
there. I was the one making all the trips when we needed to.
yeah. So he was out there in the snow, and not me. It was too cold outside, one, to just be out there. And I don't like the snow. I don't like the cold. I hibernate in the wintertime. I'm coming out right now because it's nice and warm. It's been some beautiful weather. But thank you guys for tuning in. Share the live. I'm really excited about today's show. It's going to be really amazing, you guys. But I'm just gonna go ahead and introduce myself. I am Nikki Talks, and this is my husband,
I am
Richard.
Richard Rhodes.
Yes, and we have the Black Radio. I'm so excited, you guys. Where we're just talking about things related to relationships amongst ourselves and marriage. Just even overall becoming better people in our community, so that overall we all can come back together and be unified. So I'm really, really excited about today, and today's topic, which I'm going to introduce in a second, is mm, I got the wrong topic on here, but I know it, and it's also listed on the thing, right? So, basically, what we were doing, we're supposed to be doing this segment called "We're the New Chapters of Black History." Today, we got the men in the studio, and it's going to be really, really exciting having the men talk about how men can level up and different things like that. Now, I want to kind of talk about some things. Oh.
That's me. I'm sorry, y'all.
I want to talk about some things that just been going on out, like over the past 2 weeks. There's been a lot of things that happened, right? The Eagles won the Super Bowl, which I was very excited about. I haven't watched the Super Bowl since Colin Kaepernick,
I
right?
think somebody in here didn't like that.
So, but the Eagles won the Super Bowl. I was very excited about that because from the highlights and stuff that I seen, the Chiefs have won. I'm like, how boring is that for the same people to win over and over again? It was just, you know, crazy. But I was really excited. Jalen Hurts, like, I don't know. Some people say the first black quarterback, but we're gonna leave that up for debate, right? But I thought that was really exciting. He won, and I was excited about
My
that.
daughter loved it too.
Um,
She's like,
yes,
I'm going for the green
she went
team.
for the green team, and she just knew, right? And then also, not only that, but then Beyonce had won a Grammy for the Country Award. So we're gonna leave that up for debate too. Some people liked it, some people didn't, but that was pretty cool.
I didn't.
He did.
Don't hate on me. I just didn't like it.
But also there also has been it's been Black History Month, and there's been a lot of things going on. We talked about in earlier shows DEI and different things like that, and also people are saying that on the 28th that they are boycotting all stores, and different things like that. So they're doing like a boycott, and they're not spending any money on the 28th, as a
Oh, I
way.
wish we had time to talk about that. Because, man.
Yeah, but on as a way to basically say that that's their power, and they're holding it back. So that's this Friday, you guys, and that's a kind of, we're gonna see how that's gonna go because I got some
We
stuff
gonna see.
planned.
We're gonna talk
But so
about
I
it
got to I
afterwards.
got to
Yeah.
look more into it. But I did see some people sharing it. I think my cousin sent me something in a uh message and different things like that about it. So I'm really, really excited about that. You guys, it's going to be really, really awesome today. And there's been a lot of things going on with Trump. There's been a lot going on. So I don't know. I don't know if I can keep up. But also there's been a lot of other things that are making people nervous, like the planes crashing and different things like that. But, I went and I looked because I was like, is it really just this many planes crashing? Or are they just putting this stuff out there? But planes crash all the time. And, and all of them are not like bad landings and different things like that too. But also they have majority of the planes make it. So actually this year it hasn't been that many crashes so far, right? So that's like a pretty good thing, I guess, but obviously it's, it is sad, but cuz I was like, we're planning a trip and we got to take a plane to get there and I'm going on that trip. I was like, I can't be scared cuz I really want to go, right? And yeah, so anything else you wanted to say?
No, I'm actually excited about the topic. I just want to kind of dive in. I wanted to actually talk about. Uh, I'm not going to do that because we don't have enough time.
No,
Because
what you want?
we have three amazing men up in here that I know has a lot to say,
Oh, it's gonna be a lot. So
and
yeah,
I'm like, you know what? An hour is not enough time.
definitely not enough. Not with who we have in the room. And y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and introduce them because I know somebody's gonna be saying, "Oh, it wasn't enough," right? Um, so we're gonna go ahead and introduce our guest, and let's go ahead and first start off. We have, since he was already on the camera, and he was here. He was the last person here. We have Edgar Prime, and I said it correctly this time. I said it correctly.
He was
So
Agatha Prime last time. I don't know what that was about.
we have him. So I'm so excited about that. We also have two other familiar faces that you guys know. They've been on the show. They've been on several shows on KBOB. But we also have Marquise Dennis over there in the light brown.
Yeah.
And we also have Travis Burkharder, who is here this time without his wife. Oh, and they have a new little baby. Well, both of you guys have a new little baby,
This is
fresh
real.
babies. So that's really exciting. So I'm really excited about having you guys on the show today. When we were talking and discussing, it was like, we were thinking about just having like one person. And then I was like, nah, we gotta get all of them in the room together. So yeah, I'm really, really excited about today's show. So go ahead and do the introduction.
Okay, so today we're talking about, we entitled this, We Are the New Chapters of Black History. And this is just to keep everyone focused on the fact that Black history is not over. Black history is not just on February, the shortest month in the year of the year. No, it is every day. So if we keep that in mind, that we are the new chapters of Black history, then we'll be intentional about how we live our lives and how we raise our youth. So we found no other than the best men in Tulsa that we know to speak on these topics about how we can be better men in our community and in our households. So I'm just going to allow them to reintroduce themselves again and say one interesting thing about themselves. And we're going to start with Edgar Prime.
Yeah.
Well, firstly, thank you guys for having me. At first it sounded like you didn't want me to show up. You bring on this whole Eagles talk. You know how I stand with my Chiefs, but it's all right. I'm blessed to be here. I'm Aga Prime. I've been writing a motivation blog for about going on 4 years now. And simply put, just if you put one foot in front of the other and be intentional about it, you can do whatever you need to.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
awesome. And next we have we're gonna go ahead and do, let's see. Just Mr. Travis.
Hey, all right. Which one it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, my name is Travis. I go by Berkio. The biggest thing that I've been doing is just learning new things. I'm always a mindset person, so I always try to learn something new. Right now, I'm learning how to do data, so that's something that I'm diving into, and I'm very excited about it.
Oh,
Come on.
that's interesting. And next up, we have Mr. Marquise Dennis.
Greetings and good day. She said, Marquise, founder and executive director of Birthright Living Legacy, fatherhood celebration and support organization, just helping validate the merit and change the narrative of the purpose of fathers.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Cool. And I'm really excited about having you all, as I've said before. And as my husband has mentioned, we're really excited about that. As we were talking about this, what made us really want to do this is we look at the state of our people, and then yesterday we were talking to an elder who came down here for a Black Wall Street, tour and different things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And, one of the things he had mentioned, he was like, I wish the men would rise up in their homes, right?
Mm-hmm.
That, they will take back that portion. And
Right.
that's like a big thing. And that's what we wanted to talk about today, just men leveling up and different things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited to have you guys in the building, and this is going to be really awesome.
Yeah, so I want to open up with a story that I heard from a gentleman that was told to him by his grandmother. So it was a visual illustration. She pulled him to the kitchen, and she had 3 pots on the stove. One pot was a potato, one pot was an egg, and one pot was coffee beans. And she said, she told her grandson to look at it. She said, I want you to feel this egg. He felt the egg. He saw that the egg was hard. She said, when I first put this egg in this pot, it was soupy. It was soft. But after being exposed to the heat in this environment, it became hard. Then she took him to the other pot. She said, this potato, it used to be soft. But after being exposed to the heat in this environment, it became, well, I said it backwards. I knew you caught it. Okay. So we're going to rewind. It was hard, but after being exposed to the environment, it became soft. Then she went to the coffee bean. And the coffee bean, the texture never changed, but it changed the environment. So as men, how do you guys think, not just as men, but as Black men? And we know that we have become subjects of our environment. And, we hear all the time from our counterparts, why can't you just do what such and such did? What do you guys think we can do differently so that we can actually not only just come out of our environment, as many have done, but how could we come out of our environment and make an impact in our environment? And I know this is like
That's
random.
a loaded question. That's a loaded question. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's tough. But I think the biggest thing that we have to do as men is just get back to kind of our roots of
Mhm.
life, and it's kind of how our. I was talking to some buddies of mine and just what are some things that they learned now being husbands and fathers that they didn't have, right, as a kid, and what are some things that they learned, and some of them was, man, I learned that my dad, he was a hard worker, you know what I'm saying, and he just always provided. He wasn't there necessarily there for me mentally or emotionally,
Mhm.
and so we kind of suffer for that as Black men. We kind of suffer from that emotional connection, just because we always told, everybody in this room probably heard, boys don't cry. You know what I'm saying? So, get in touch with our emotional intelligence and being able to raise a full person rather than the way that we were raised and having some misguided ways. Because, I could look 10, 15 years back. I didn't have a good mindset and just how to approach life, and nor did I have a good idea of what I wanted a man to be in myself, because I didn't have that vision inside the home.
Right.
So, like I said, I'm always reading and trying to find out new ways. So just being able to be open and communicate those things and doing things like what we're doing right now, I think we can be able to iron sharpens iron, as the good book says.
Facts. I think all of you have something to contribute. I think all of you guys, you are already contributing to like what I just asked, because you have Birthright Living Legacy.
Well, so you asked a loaded question of,
Mhm.
how do we come out of our environment but still have an impact? And the simple answer is you can't come out of your environment. Wherever you go, you're still going to be there. And so you have to, as I teach the fathers, you have to become a thermometer or a thermostat versus a thermometer. You have to set the temperature wherever you go. And it may take a while for the room to catch up, but you have to set the temperature. If I set it in 68 degrees in here, it's going to take a minute for it to fill up the space. But the consistency builds trust. Everything moves at the speed of trust. So with that said, the simple answer, the simple answer is going to be, we have to define what it really means to be a husband, father, and a community member. Those are very ambiguous terms right now. If I said community, every one of us would have a very different idea of what that is. But community by definition has a definition. So when you look at a community, that's neighbors, that's school systems, that's small business and churches. That's what creates a community. So we have to figure out, what does the terminology mean? And then what are those definitions? Because again, when we're talking about emotionally intelligent men, everybody has a very different opinion of that. And that is why we keep having the problems we're having, is because as I'm trying to discover, the goalpost keep getting moved. Every time I think, oh, I've arrived at this place, now somebody else is telling me, well, their version of a man is not this. And it's like, oh man. And so what does end up happening is that creates such a daunting, like, it's just not possible goal. So then it's easier to give up. It's easier to become the version of men that people hate, because they can clearly define that.
Right.
They can clearly define abusive. They can clearly define annoying or whatever that is. And I can just be that. And it's so much easier. This is why, as parents, we learn that if we don't give the positive attention, they will get it negatively. And I think that's what's happened to the men, is we've allowed people that are not men to define what manhood is. And so because we've done that, they don't know that the version of manhood they've created in their head that they're holding us to is a fictional, made up character that doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's good. I like
Oh,
that.
man, that was great. You almost hit a nail on the head what I was getting ready to say, so I won't take too much time to repeat it. But my thought process when you mentioned we have to redefine a husband, community members, community leaders, my first thought process is we have to figure out what we're going to define a man as first.
Correct.
You know, we nowadays there's so many buzzwords that keeps kind of getting thrown around, and this whole provider conversation that everybody likes to talk about, which the thing is that it's never been about the providing portion of it. That's a thing that men do. But to boil down men to just that thing really devalues what men are. And it keeps them in a place where they're kind of damned if they do, damned if they don't, really.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you either have to progress enough to be comfortable letting somebody use you and getting nothing in return, or you do nothing, and that's the only way no one can use you, but then you're either using your other people or the government. What do you want to be? And so I think it's important that, as you mentioned, that we redefine, especially as Black men, we redefine what that means. And that way we can keep it consistent.
Yeah, we set that temperature.
From man to man, we can hold each other accountable. But when we got all of these different definitions going around and no one's talking, everyone is just trying to be the loudest person in the room, we get nowhere.
Right.
We need each other.
So I have to pry a little bit. Earlier you said we were raised and taught to be men by people who weren't men.
Absolutely.
Could you expound on that?
So again, being a product of a single mother, I grew up with influences of women that pretty much ran my life. And what I've discovered, I'll give you just a prime example. This just happened the other day. I was getting a crown put on, and my dentist decided she was going to drill on a tooth that I already had in my mouth. And immediately I thought to myself, why is she drilling on my good tooth to create a problem for me in the future, right?
Right.
Now, mind you, I had this conversation in my head, but I did not say anything to her. And I felt some type of way because growing up, my mother had to instill fear into me because she couldn't control me any other way. My dad wasn't around. Right. So just imagine being a man that is afraid of a woman and then being put in front of other men. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
It causes an internal conflict to where now I know I have to pretend that I can hold my own, even though I'm deathly afraid of a woman. And so now my morals and my values are really so now when you say toxic masculinity, I put that tag on other people, but I don't realize those same traits are going to me.
No, that's facts.
So everything I say, do, and think becomes toxic, but I don't realize that the only person that planted and watered that seed was a woman. So how is it toxic now but it was applicable when I was a youth. I watched a video. This is how I even came to this. I watched a video on, I think it was on Facebook or something, and this young kid was holding his arm up like this, and his mom was calling him everything in the book, and she kept bucking at him like, "Get this bee out of my room!" And I was like, "Bro, I feel sorry for this kid,
Right.
because here he is. He doesn't know what to do. He's trying to respect his mother, but she's calling him everything other than a child of God. He's genuinely afraid." But then he's thinking to himself, when he gets older, he's going to assume that that type of behavior is okay. Now imagine if Nikki marries that man. That man is going to think fighting with a woman is normal,
Right.
as opposed to what then, Travis is going to come and tell him later, "Hey, we don't hit women." It's like, but what do you mean?
She hit me.
You know what I mean?
Right,
This is
right.
how I grew up. This is
Right.
what I
Yeah,
know.
that's facts.
And
Yeah.
so this is where, when I say manhood qualities have been taught by people that are not men, but the most important part is they're not real qualities. If we're going to have the conversation of provider, we have to understand, if I am providing, what does that really mean? I cannot be at home and work. I cannot provide for the household and be at home. So we have to figure out, what does our equal shared parenting look like? And that's a conversation that I may not be prepared to have, because I only know that a man is supposed to take control, but I don't know that means that I may have the final say, but there's still a conversation that needs to be had.
Right.
And so this is where we start to get into that conflict. And again, if I'm getting the mixed signals of thinking that my mother is the end all be all of manhood, when I meet a man or when I meet a woman that is expecting me to be her version, especially if she had a dad, she's going to think all kinds of different stuff about me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have this bravado and ego and things that I'm going to have to fight through to try to present as what somebody thinks I am. And I'm going to be failing on the inside. And this is why 3 out of 4 suicides are men.
That's deep. And I think, that stems from a lot of different things. So I want to ask you guys, because you said basically a lot of it stems from single mothers, being a single mom. So how do y'all think that the single mother epidemic has affected the state of our young men today?
In addition to what you just said.
Yes,
in addition to what you just said.
I'll let them answer.
Dive deeper.
Yeah, that's, again, another loaded question. As Marquis, same thing. Man, I grew up with women around me. My mom, my aunts. I did have some uncles that that were married, and I was able to see them and to kind of pull some knowledge from them just watching. I'm more of an observer type when it comes to that. But the thing that happens is kind of like what Marquis was saying is, I think as a young man, we don't have that voice. We don't know how to develop that voice, because we're never taught how to speak in a sense that is understandable for everybody. Because once, like my daughter now, she gets so frustrated, right, when she's building blocks. Well, imagine that's a 22-year-old man that's never been taught how to properly have a discussion when things are going wrong in his life, or in just, and around the house. Hey, I told you to take out the trash, and he didn't take the trash out, and then I just go in and blow up at him. And I don't explain to him why I wanted to take the trash out, or we don't have those conversations. And so there was a book I read a long time ago that a majority of Black kids have a bad speech, impediment. I can't really remember what it was, but basically the number of words that are spoken inside of a Black household is less than that is of our counterparts. And so we don't have a very diverse vocabulary.
Right.
And so with that being said, it's like, I don't know how to articulate what is going on inside of me. So, and a mom has, she has 2-3 kids. So she's trying to raise and trying to maintain and do everything that she can for the one. So you kind of get left in the shadows sometimes, and you're left to your own devices. And so I think we talked about it a long time ago, Rich, is I'm going to go to my partners. I'm gonna go to that 14-year-old guy that I'm 14. I'm gonna go to him and see what he says. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have that conversation with an adult male to really tell me, hey, that's not right, young blood. You know what I'm saying? So that's the biggest thing I think that hurts some single parents. Like I said, when I was younger, when I was in my 20s and college and stuff, I didn't verbalize the hurt that I was going through. I didn't realize that I was depressed until I got out of college. Like you'd imagine a cat that's playing college football and doing the things that he's doing that he wanted to do, that he'd be happy on top of the world. But deep down inside, I was hurting. So I didn't know how to, I didn't know how to verbalize that to my partners, and I didn't know how to talk. So when I graduated about my senior year, I finally went to therapy and found out I had an abandonment issue, all kinds of stuff. So, all those things kind of played in the part of shaping me who I am today. And that's kind of why I'm big on. That's why I'm big on coaching. You know what I'm saying? That's why I love talking to my players. Today I got to shake up all of them. As you guys know, I got to let go, but I still have such a good relationship with those guys because I was teaching them how to be a man. You know what I'm saying? Because yes, they may have a dad in the house, but that dad may be out. You know what I'm saying? He may be doing what he got to do, take care of the family. Yeah. And so they don't really have that conversation. So that's why I like to be the intermediary and get in the middle. You know what I'm saying? And have a good relationship. And, it proves to me that I was that with those guys because it was like 10, 15 of them. Just, hey, coach, how you doing? Hey, man, I miss you. Whoop, whoop, whoop. So it was really good just talking to them today and just seeing how they were. So that's kind of what it plays on. Those guys need role models.
Right.
That was a lot.
And I'm gonna repeat the question too for the hearers because I want to hear what Aga Prime has to say on the topic too. How has the single mother epidemic affected the state of young men today?
Okay, wow, well, those are some great answers, man. I feel like you guys took a lot of my talking points, but I spent a good little bit thinking about this, and so I want to say this. Firstly, I don't believe in blame. I believe that blame is an emotional response we make to a situation involving another person that we didn't like the outcome of. So it's conditional on the outcome of what happened. That means that if everything went as bad as it did and it went good for you, you wouldn't have had a problem. That ain't real. Mm-hmm. That's just skirting accountability. I say all that to say this. I grew up with a single mother and I love my mother. I went through my own cycle through reflection of kind of having to come to terms with that. And there was a period where I blamed her. But what brought me out of that was understanding a woman can't teach a man to be a man.
Come on.
Mm-hmm. And the reason is because as men, we understand force doctrine. We understand that there's a certain point it is about being able to hold your position. There is a final determiner in a conflict. Mm-hmm. Well, when you grow up in your principal authority as a woman, you can't use that recourse of actions. You're unfamiliar with the way this warfare is being held. So you can't lash out at what you're strongest at. So you have to adapt to what is your environment. So as you grow up and you become a man, you then are tasked with every other place in life being a leader. Mm-hmm. Yet in every other walk of life, you've never been under a male leadership. Mm-hmm. So how do you function?
That's good. Yeah.
So it brings out that false bravado. It brings out those emotional decisions because to you, you're being the best man you think that you're being, but you don't know what that actually looks like. Mm-hmm. And your mother couldn't explain it to you because my favorite one is, hey, don't be a punk.
Oh man.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Right. How does a woman articulate that to a boy? Mm-hmm. Because most women don't deal with physical conflict enough to understand why that's actually a problem. Mm-hmm. So all they can do is usually verbally or physically assault or, try and toughen them up. It's a pure intention. Mm-hmm. But the problem is the boy can't get the lesson because it's not being taught
correctly.
They just have to at some point pretend that they learned it.
Absolutely.
Because that's the only thing that stops the abuse.
That's it.
Hey.
That's
but
you on point.
So yeah. I say all of that to say is as I speak to the young men and this I had to go through the same journey myself, is that the reality is life ain't fair. Right. And I'm not saying it's your fault, but Will Smith said this the first time and it just choked me up. He said that just because it's your fault, not your fault, doesn't mean it ain't your problem. Mm-hmm. And so as men, we have to endure, we have to achieve, because our ultimate goal is to be able to say we respect the man we became at the end of this. Mm-hmm. And so the first stretch, hey, you might have got dealt the rough end of the cards, but you did learn some things. Mm-hmm. You can't make it 20, 30 years without learning something. Yeah. So you got to seek out guidance, seek out leadership, and learn the stuff and be open to change. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, nobody's going to come and save us.
Yeah. I like that you said that because I think a lot of times we don't realize that our mothers were in survival mode
Oh yeah,
and
100%.
they're trying their best to adapt without a man.
Mhm.
So they would, like you hear them, you hear mother say it a lot. I was your mother and your father. I want the Father
you
Day's
weren't.
gifts, and
No, you
you
weren't.
weren't.
Right.
Yeah.
No, you
So
weren't.
but you tried.
You know,
No, you
You
didn't.
tried because you knew there was a
You
need for a man
you
to
bought a lie is what happened. That's
Yeah.
what happened. And
Mhm.
that narrative is why it's so important. That's what they were sold. So to answer the question simply, 2 times more likely for infant mortality death,
be there.
4 times more likely to be in poverty.
Hmm.
You're going to be more likely to have alcohol and or physical abuse,
Hmm.
7 times more likely to be a teen pregnant.
Hmm.
You're going to increase by almost, I can't even tell you the percentage, but 90% of all homeless and runaway teenagers.
Hmm.
Rape goes through the roof. 80% of all rape happens from fatherless children. 75% more likely to be expelled or sent out of school, failing, and all these other things. So there's a myriad of different things that have been caused due to single motherhood. And I know, the world is going to ask, well, why y'all blaming mothers? What is this whole thing with mothers? I'll give you the reason. They've done the statistics, with the CDC and multiple other outlets have done the research to find out that if you take a single mother versus single father versus a 2-parent household, a single father will get almost identical results of a 2-parent household. We're talking health, well-being. We're talking stability, emotional, people that how they show up in school, the whole nine, workforce advantage, all of that. They have shown that single fathers outweigh single mothers by a long shot, with little boys by a long shot, but with girls not by much, but they still win. And the reason is because if the father is the sole parent, if he's the single parent, there's a 85% chance he's going to allow mom to co-parent. So again, we go back to the recipe is 2 involved parents. Doesn't mean they have to be married, doesn't have to be together, but they both have to be engaged. We all remember Boys in the Hood. At Boys in the Hood, what happened when Trey got too old? I can't raise you from this point on. You need to go be with your father.
Yikes.
That takes emotionally stable women and stable men to understand we are co-parenting. We do not have to love each other, like each other. We have to do what's best for our child.
100%.
And so when you take a mother that is the sole parent, the single parent, there's only a 5% chance that she's going to allow father to co-parent because of that lie. Oh, I'm going to be mother and father. No, you're just going to be a mean mom. You cannot create the kinetic energy that takes place, the transference of brain development, the cognitive abilities that develop his brain or her brain, the emotional well-being from rough and tumble play, all of those connective things, like he was saying, the lesson that they learn through those physical activities, it only transfers from a father to their child. It does not happen from women. It's how they were created. There's nothing you can do. There's not an estrogen pill you can take. There's not a testosterone shot that you can do that's going to make that happen. It's just the way that men and women are created. Women have that bonding time during birth and during pregnancy. Men don't get that opportunity.
Right.
They only get it once they take care of a child that cannot take care of themselves as they are holding their own child. Think about how many men are robbed of that opportunity. That's how they start to develop. There's a portion of their brain that won't even open until they get that opportunity. And that's how they start to become mature. But mothers have to enforce that they are going to co-parent. They have to let go and they have to do it together. That's the only way that we can evolve.
So this is a question from a previous show we had. And now that I have you guys here, I would like to ask you guys. So one gentleman said, well, my mother raised me alone. And I think, I'm the epitome of a man. So she did a good job.
If it's okay, I'll tackle that one. So, and I love the way you put your statement. And so what I'll say to that is this: it's so much deeper than we really think about.
Right.
So when I say it's not possible, understand that men and women are different on a biological level in the way that we think. Like men are more logic and reason based. Women are more emotional in nature. They filter through emotion. So there's a chaos and an order aspect to the both of us. So it's a duality that we make. It's not, we can't both be the same thing. And when we try to be the other, we tend to become the worst version of that. So that's why you typically see the strong woman as the most obnoxious person, because she's taking on the worst traits of a man.
Absolutely.
Because those are the ones she can express.
Mm.
She doesn't have any key to the inside of it. So when we're talking about boys, it goes so much deeper in the sense that you don't see a man's work ethic. You don't see a man's plan and vision. Most women, this isn't necessarily a knock on women, just the difference. They're not building empires. Most women are more here in the moment. So I think I said this on the last podcast that, you know, your woman is a different person every day. So it's like that score resets every single day. Most of those single mothers are in survival mode. They're doing their best to appease you and their situation so that they can enjoy the most in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how you take care of a family.
Mm-hmm.
But so that is what you are basing your thought process of working hard.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get out in the world and someone, another man comes to you and says, "Hey man, you don't got no work ethic."
Mm-hmm.
You thinking I'm the hardest working person I know. But you got that interpretation from watching women, and women don't get oxytocin that way. They get it from, it's a cuddle drug for women. For men, we get that through achievement. We get that through going through things, being recognized by our peers in society. So you're not taught the high you get from that, the built-in reward for that achievement. And so you spend time doing what you're emulating, working real hard to party on the weekend, celebrating every night of the week, and ain't nothing happened. You know, doing just enough to stay where you at.
Right.
Because that's all you saw. But we can't use that as an excuse to stay where we at.
And I would even just say this, the ways of a man seem right to him, you know, again, without a firm definition of what we decide that is. Yeah, he can believe that. I could believe that too, but I'm well aware that I have not arrived. And for me to say, and I look at it like the difference between Jordan and LeBron, one claimed himself the king as the best basketball player of all times, whereas the other one, the peers and the people voted and said that he was the greatest of all time. And so when you say that you are the epitome of a man, listen, to your wife, to your family, I hope so. I cannot determine what that is for you, because we have not, as a community, as a people, decided this is what a comprehensive man is.
Thanks.
And so that's why, you know, I love people like Jason Williams. I'm reading I just read the Man, the Moment, the Moment Demands. And it goes through this very myriad of different emotions and things. He hasn't arrived, and he wrote the book on it. So how this caller or individual decided that he's that, I hope so. But I don't get to determine that. His family, his wife, his kids get to determine that for him. And that's where we run into the problem, is because we go from the truth to now individual versions of that.
Right.
Yeah.
It looks like we have a caller, so let me go ahead.
Yeah, caller.
All right.
Hey, caller, you're on the air.
Hello?
Hey, I can hear you. You're on the air.
I don't know if he can hear
That
you.
sounds like Jada truck driver.
Hey, caller.
Hello?
Yeah, you're on the air.
He probably can't hear you. But
Let's
if you
see.
can hear us, we can
Hello?
hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you. You're on the air. You're on the air.
Oh, I didn't know if you could hear me. Hey, Richard Roos, Nikki Cox, how's everybody doing? What's up, club?
We're doing well, man. It's good to hear from you. Maybe.
Well, I can't hear you all, but hopefully y'all can hear me. I know y'all are probably working out the technical difficulties, but I'm just gonna say, well, being black in America is hard. So for one, so you have to prepare yourself to deal with the daily stressors, that are systematically set to oppress us on top of, daily life problems. So pray or do therapy for your mental, and also take care of your physical, because they go hand in hand. And as a black man or people, we have to value ourselves. We're not the richest, but if you look around, there's always something trying to kick us down, whether it be DEI, racism, etc. So we need to realize there's something valuable about ourselves that we have, or else society wouldn't be trying to make it so hard for us to make it. So as black men, we just have to brainstorm and meet up and talk and fellowship and unify and conversate without judgment. And that's just my 2 cents. I can't hear y'all, but suppose y'all hear me, and God bless, and I'll talk to y'all later. Here's that horn. All right.
Thank you for calling in.
I don't know where we're gonna comment on that, or
Yeah, you can
speak to that.
I don't think
Yeah,
our mic is on.
I don't know.
Y'all up now.
Okay, we up now. All right, cool. So I kind of rock with a good portion of what he said, but honestly, I feel like the victim language is as big of a problem as anything
Come
else.
on, preach.
It's at the end of the day, like it can't be worse than it was.
Yeah.
So we can all objectively say it's gotten better since then.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, at some point we got to stop saying it's all out to get us.
Yeah.
And that's where I would start with that is firstly, we got to stop saying that there's some greater power, there's something behind us. Let's just say, dude, there's rules to success.
There is.
There's a blueprint in it's happened too many times.
Yeah. And, sorry to cut your wisdom, but it's kind of like what he also said, but also what Nikki was talking about earlier about the boycott on Friday, right? I mean, you look at the boycott in Mississippi or Montgomery boycott. They shut down the entire state because they didn't go. We have the highest buying power of any other culture.
100%.
So, I mean, we're not poor. That shows up every single time, right? We're $1 billion culture. And anything that black people put the stamp on, it sells. So, I mean, I do get it. It is harder in a sense, but we are the biggest.
But I like the other side of that coin, though.
Yeah.
The other side of that coin is, even though the Montgomery bus boycott happened, look at all the black bus operators we put out of business because of that.
Yeah, 100%.
See, this is the issue.
It was a catch-22.
But it really wasn't. Instead of trying to fight to become someone else's, why don't we define what culture is going to be? If we define what culture is going to be, because again, the boycott is not going to do any good unless we now somehow have purchasing power for black owned or brown owned businesses that we can now funnel that money to.
Yeah.
Because guess what's going to happen if I boycott Target and Walmart on Friday? That means I'm going in on Thursday to buy all the stuff I need. And then I'm going to say, yeah, we boycotting, even though I got all these bags in my house that I just did yesterday, because there's not a sustainable amount of places to go to be able to buy alternatively.
Facts.
As I was telling a young brother one time, we were having this conversation. He had on his hat and his hoodie and his fit. And I said, tell me one thing that's on you that's black owned. He was like, I made this hat. I said, who stitched the hat? Oh, who stitched your uniform? You pressed your name on it. But where did we get together and say, hey, all of these people make shirts and sell apparel? How many of them are going to get together and create a factory that actually puts out shirts and quality material so that every black-owned or brown-owned business can be able to purchase from that place? No, you getting it from China just like everybody else. Because to be able to create manufacturing, you have to have customers that are willing to take that level of an investment. And again, when you start to get into all of that, now we have to go back to the original point. We don't have the trust in the community we need. Again, We confuse getting along with trust.
Mhm.
I don't have to like you to do business with you. I don't. I have not checked at every Target and found out who the CEO is, sat down and had dinner with them. I could care less. Can I get my product consistently well? And if there's a problem, will you take care of it?
Right.
These are the values we have to instill. That stuff comes from the home, that goes into a neighborhood, that then goes and permeates into a community. Small businesses, churches, and school districts. When those things are operating because we have created an opportunity to say, this is what our neighborhood or our community is going to guideline by, then you can govern from that. But until we do that, we're going to be throwing arrows at everything. And again, like I said, Thursday is just going to be a hot day. It's going to be Black Thursday is all it's going to be. They're going to be like, shoot, I don't need y'all to buy nothing else for the next week.
Exactly. I was thinking, shoot, I need somebody to come support my business like that. Hey, boycott me on Thursday, but come get everything on Wednesday for
That's
me.
it.
You know, I still sold what I needed to sell. In fact, you might actually buy extra.
Right.
Because you're trying to anticipate like how much you're going to need, so you're going to buy extra. So my sales are going to go up. I just don't think we really thought that through.
And I think partially is because we don't have those real leaders like we had back then. We don't have that male figure in the home and out in the open. Like, you know, back then when we had Martin Luther King, when we had Malcolm X, and we had all these different, they was really setting up things that caused change. It was causing change. It was causing a reaction. It was causing people to look. That's not going to cause anybody to look.
Well, they gave us entertainers now.
Yeah.
They gave us people that sing and dance and make money off of the system. To be our leaders. They've put them in front of us and said that they're leaders, even though we didn't decide that. I didn't decide that this person was going to represent my thought. And that's what happens is now when I go and stand up and I say, I am speaking for the Black people, immediately people are like, who are you? Who are you to speak for me? And this is why I have to be very careful when I speak on behalf of fatherhood. I can tell you only the fatherhood experience that I have and the men that I've impacted or come into community with, but I cannot tell you this is the definition of man and this is what it should be. I can tell you my thoughts, but if I don't have the collective thoughts of other people, then it's just my ego talking, and that creates another problem.
Right. So the caller, he I think he mentioned mental health. But we actually had a question for you guys. What role does mental health play in the effectiveness of Black men as fathers, husbands, and community leaders?
Mental health is absolutely vital. The problem with mental health sometimes is we don't properly check the people that we're getting information from. We go into it assuming that they know everything, and that's problematic.
Are you talking about the therapist? The
therapist, correct. You have to be very careful and make sure that you vet your therapist just like you would anything else. You cannot just go into things blindly. Like for me, I am a product of being able to go to Skills on Wheels. They are individuals that I've been able to learn, know in real life, but also as therapists, they have been able to show me. I've actually got to see in real life what that looks like. So therefore, I was able to go into that therapy and be able to get the help that I needed because they are somebody that I vetted and I can trust they are going to give me the best therapy that I can get. Not to say that they're the only ones, but they're the ones that I went to. Why? Because I tried multiple people. And every time I went to a therapist, what would end up happening when I would go to people that when I just assumed that they knew, they didn't tell me how the process was supposed to go. They were really impressed with the stories that I had. And I left always thinking like, well, okay, so what am I paying for? I don't know where I'm at right now. Versus when I went to see Michael, when I was, he was my therapist when I was going. He's been promoted, so he's not my therapist anymore. But they have multiple different people. So as I was able to then get what I needed, he was actually able to help me get from this level to the next level to the next level because he understands where I actually am versus reading out of some book and telling me some prescription that just sounds good. So I would just say mental health is absolutely vital. However, please make sure that you take the time to vet and understand that the people that are working on your health and on your well-being, they are just as responsible to you as any other. You know what? You wouldn't hire a plumber just because this has plumber in his title. You would ask people, hey, how is this plumber? Can you give me a name of a reference or somebody that you appreciate?
Yeah, that's true.
Facts. I mean, that's the first time I ever heard somebody say vet your
I mean, that's smart though.
That's
I mean,
facts,
that makes
right?
sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense to do that. Marquis said it all. I mean, as far as it's important. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I was going through depression 10, 15 years ago, whatever it was. But, you know, and being that me and him both had children, we also need to talk about the fact that men do go through a little bit of postpartum as well. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not something that's taught enough. And it's just me reading that I found that out. And, you know, again, it's just, I think being able to have those conversations with your wife or with your spouse or with somebody to get it out if you can't find a therapist, man.
This is why we have the fatherhood meetings.
You know what I'm saying?
We'll be meeting tomorrow.
Yeah.
I might slide through because it might be something I need to get into.
But this is why it exists, because I was a dad. Let me just be clear. I was a baby dad. I was a guy that didn't know anything. And I was like, I am doing what I thought as a man I was supposed to do. I was in here making rules with no vision, trying to put people under my thumb because I thought that what I said go, even though I had zero clue what I was doing, and the collateral damage that I caused to the women that I had children with. And I did it not once, not twice, but 3 times before I realized, wait a minute.
Yeah,
I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm bulling a china shop because somebody told me that this is how I'm supposed to act. The music that I listened to told me I was supposed to be this guy. Well, then when I started to get on my journey to fix that, when I started to reach up instead of reaching out, like you said with the 14-year-old, I started to reach up to the generations that came before, like I did when I was a youngster. See, I used to be able to find groups of men that were talking. They wouldn't talk to me, but they would talk at me. They would say, oh, these young people today. And I knew, here it comes, some wisdom. But now, where do you find that? Where do you find these groups of men that are hanging out, talking to each other? They're scared to death. They're scared they're going to be accused of some kind of patriarchy. They're afraid that they're going to lose their businesses, their wives. All kinds of nonsense is happening. So they stay in the house.
Yeah.
And so we lose all of that wisdom and all that connectivity. And this is why I created Birthright, because I said, you know what? I don't have all the answers. The curriculum we created, a doctor created that. I just get to be able to be involved. When we have those conversations, I lead with vulnerability of saying, hey, this is how I failed in this area. And this is what I had to decide to be. And I had to go out and find somebody that had a tie on and a vest and say, hey, how do I wear a tie and a vest? That vulnerability let him know, oh, he's serious. He got a tie in his pocket. He didn't expect me to go buy him a tie and go buy him a vest. No, he came prepared, even though I didn't know. When Clifton Talbert set me down and said, you need to be a better father, I said, well, nobody showed me. He was unimpressed. He said, somebody, were you born with that tie on? And I was like, how dare you say it was my fault? And I had to realize that absolutely it was my fault. Now, I could definitely say, okay, being that my mom was not married to my father, or that my father chose to go marry some other lady and have a whole family somewhere else, yeah, I could blame those circumstances. But once I get to your point, once I get to that level of understanding, now it's a choice. And I have to choose different.
If I could cut in for a second on that part, I don't know if everybody's going to like this, but honestly, I think mental health, a lot of times, especially with men, is thrown away to skirt accountability. And not to say that there isn't anything to it. I'm not trying to say that you don't feel depressed. I'm not trying to say that if you feeling like you're gonna delete, you don't need to talk to someone.
Right.
But traditional therapy, I think, is a feminine way of handling a problem. And that kind of goes back to where we where we determined our thinking from, how we think it's normal to handle a problem.
Right.
Whereas if you look at throughout history, typically for men going through struggles, what you really, most of us really need is a personal trainer, a dark room, and a group of other men. That's all we really need, because through all of that, you already have the answers inside of you. You innately know what to do.
Yeah.
The thing is you just had so many things in your head. So many people were trying to tell you the rules of the game, and then you just woke up one morning and it was like, they just lied to me.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
I'm responsible for all the decisions I made while they was lying to me. No, I can't do nothing else about it. And so I really think that the mental health thing is like, I don't like putting power to anything outside of myself. And so like the morning message, the Up Before the Sun group I talk about is all about reflections that I go through daily, nightly, because I write every morning. And the idea is to get you thinking and reflect in a way that forces you to consider what it is that I'm talking about. And then I always urge you to reflect yourself, because I don't need you to take my word as law. I'm a man. I am fallible.
Let's go.
And furthermore, as I mentioned, we all have a bias in here.
Absolutely.
No matter how direct I am, no matter how much I think about it and try my best, there's a certain part of my circumstances, my environment, that I can't get out of how I think. But if I got a group of other men who are reflecting, who are working on getting better, when you reflect on it, you might be able to show me a different side of this puzzle.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I want to make a quick announcement to everybody listening over the radio and on the chat live, viewing from the live stream. Today is Marquis' birthday. It is Marquis Dennis' birthday, and he's not. He's not. And I think this is really commendable, because we had a few gifts from him today, but it didn't come in time. But I logged on Instagram, and his Instagram post said, Marquis Dennis is not accepting traditional gifts. And I think this is so beautiful, because this man means what he says.
Yeah.
So he's asking for donations to contribute towards men and the Birthright Living. So everything that he does with Birthright Living Legacy. So when you follow the link, you'll be able to see everything that he's doing and contribute to the field that you want to contribute to. My wife is going to post that link in the chat. And also I wanted to talk about also Aga Prime, because these men are solely about people. They did not spend a lot of time talking about what they do to help people. So Aga Prime, like he said, he does a chat, and so he sends this blog to us every day faithfully, a group of men faithfully. He sends it to us through text. He posts on LinkedIn and Facebook as well. When I tell you, these reflections are powerful. I mean, it's powerful. It really, when you read them, it really makes you reconsider your actions. You will find yourself thinking back to some of the words you said earlier, to your spouse, to the people you encounter in the street, and you ask yourself, should I have said that, or should I have said it like this? So we're going to also post a link to Aga Prime's page as well. And lastly, but not least, Travis Berthalter. This is my boy, my brother. He and his wife himself exhibits Black love on another level. So they have a podcast called Happily Ever After Hours. I always struggle saying that.
I struggled for like a minute for saying that.
Happily Ever After Hours. It's a tongue twister.
It is, right?
But yeah, but it's dope though. Him and his wife do it together, and I'm telling you, it's amazing. They like Marquis mentioned earlier, vulnerability. He said one day on one of our shows, vulnerability is currency for women, and it is so true. But I will also say I've seen that vulnerability is currency also towards men within our groups, because once you're vulnerable to a man, that's when you take that relationship to the next level. And
Take
you will see
off.
that record. Yeah, you see that armor comes off. So man, we definitely appreciate you guys and all that you do. We're posting everybody links. Please go and show them some love. Follow everybody in the group. If you would like to be a part of Birthright Living Legacy, please contact him. Let him know. If you want to be a part of You Got This, be Up Before the Sun, please let him know. Send him a message. He will send you a text message every single day. So you can't, it's not like you say, well, hey, look, I'm fasting from social media. Go ahead and do your fast. You still gonna get this message. So he gives me the he sends us all the messages on, via text. I still go on Facebook and LinkedIn to get the in-depth of it all as well. So
yeah. And if you want to know more about Travis and his wife, you can click that link and also subscribe to their YouTube page. And and you can like kind of binge watch because they have a lot of videos up right now. I'm not sure y'all making videos right now, huh?
Yeah, right now we're taking a little break.
Yeah,
We're back this weekend,
okay.
though. Yes.
Oh,
ma'am.
okay. Well, look,
Mhm.
they're about to be back. So go ahead, binge watch, and then they'll be back this weekend. So that's really exciting. So, y'all, I just want to say the chat, they were really loving what you guys are saying. Normally, I chime in and tell y'all what they're
we
saying.
did not
but
want to interrupt
I
y'all.
didn't want to interrupt the flow of what was happening because all you guys was bringing so much a good insight. But everybody was agreeing with you guys on the guidance and the discipline that a man can give, versus what a mother can give by herself. But everybody has been agreeing. There was a lot of facts. There was, somebody said, "Hey, boo," to Travis, and that was his wife. That was his
It
wife.
better not been nobody else crazy. I ain't trying to get in trouble.
And yeah, so it was really, really good. Everybody just loved it. They were just everybody was just really giving somebody said Josh, he said, "Hey," so you might want to go message him afterwards. He was Josh Midnight. I said Midnight. I added extra letters in there. But so y'all, this is a really, really good show. I really enjoyed this topic. As soon as I said that it wasn't gonna be enough time, somebody had let me know that definitely it wasn't gonna be enough time.
Sounds like we're coming back.
All right, we would
Like you said, it's every month.
Yes, because
Listen.
this is a conversation that needs to be had because there was like there's still things in my head. I'm like, but how? Like this and that. So there's like a lot of questions that I have, and y'all have so much of great insight. We definitely got to get you guys back. So we definitely going to get them back because this is like a conversation I feel like that needs to be had often.
Yes.
As we continue to grow. So like take this conversation, then let's build upon it and keep building upon it because one thing we need our men to stand up. There's a lot of things that I go to, and I'm always like, there's always more women and there's not enough men here. And there's things that are good for the community and different things like that. And it's like, if our men are not here, then we're still depending on the women to lead. And right now on social media, the Black women saying they're tired. So I don't know. So we just really need, and we really do have great men. So just to have that example out front that, hey, there are some great men out here and different things like that. So let the men see that, hey, I got somebody I can lean on. And I just really think somebody said an infinite part series. So yeah, so I'm just really thankful for you guys coming in.
Can I add just one thing before we go?
You can.
I just want to give props to my man's here. What's your name again?
Aga Prime.
Aga Prime. I just wanted to show and do a shout out for the fact that he was able to show you how to respectfully disagree and still move on. That's another one of the things that I don't think people really value as much as they should, is that we do not have to think, act, talk alike. He was able to say, "Hey, I'm glad you said that. We agree on a lot, but there's things that I see different." And we were all able. None of us are like, "Oh, let me see you outside," because we were able to respect that. Hey, man, that's great. I'm glad now I've learned a perspective. Doesn't necessarily change my viewpoint, but I have a new perspective, and that I think was admirable. And I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, and it's crazy that you said that, because Rihanna, she just posted, as you were saying, she was like, awesome show, great insight and different point of views. So that just goes to show you that everybody's point of view was respected. And I just love that. I love having just men in the room together and sharing that insight and different things like that, and just helping build each other and build the community. So that is really awesome.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in. This was the Black Love Club.
Yes.
Tune in every Wednesday
at
at
6
6
p.m.
o'clock to 7 p.m.
Yes. So we'll see you guys next Wednesday because there's no snow on the forecast. There's no snow. So we'll be back here next Wednesday. And we got a great lineup for you then, too. So